You're good to go.
Okay. I'm going to call to order the March 2nd, 2021 special meeting for the Tipp City Board of Education, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dave, whenever you're ready for attendance.
President Dunaway,
Here.
Vice President Zakor.
Here.
Mrs. Zakor is attending this evening via Zoom. Mrs. Dahl.
Here.
Mr. Patry. Here. Mrs. Heatherly.
Here.
All present and accounted for, Madam President.
Great. Item 2, new business. Item A, resignation. I'm looking for an approval to accept the following resignation. David Stevens, Treasurer, effective May 31st, 2021. If I could get a first and a second.
I'll motion. I'll second.
Moved and seconded by Mrs. Dahl and Mrs. Heatherly. Any discussion?
I think we congratulate you and thank you for all of your work. I mean, so much, Dave, and your leadership this past year. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Dave. So I guess we've been working together the longest, and it's been really fun to see you grow in your position since you've been here. And I feel like last year was a super challenging year for you, and probably at times you wore way too many hats. And so accept my apology for that. That kind of was the nature of, when COVID came, you took over as technology, and then you did director of operations for 4 months. And, of course, you're always doing HR. With a new superintendent coming, I know that you two piggyback off of each other a lot. There's a lot of back and forth questioning. And so thank you for doing all of that. And, at times we all get busy and we don't say thank you enough. And so that's probably something that we can all work on is appreciation and saying thank you, knowing that you're doing 2, 3, 4, and 5 different, job descriptions kind of all at the same time. So best of luck is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
In a long-winded manner. Best of luck.
Yes,
Congratulations, you're going to be sorely missed here.
absolutely.
Thank you, Simon.
Okay, so I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Mr. Stefanik?
Oh, no.
Okay, you were looking at me like, okay.
No.
Okay.
I talk to Dave every day.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Teresa,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say something to Dave.
Absolutely.
I wish you the best, Dave. I think you put just tremendous effort in 2020 and so far this year. So you're going to be missed, but I wish you the best.
Thank you.
I'd like to also echo those sentiments and congratulate the school district that you're going to, because I think you'll be a tremendous asset to them. I think you have a lot of skills, and I think your insights into the whole audit portion of your previous experience prior to coming to Tipp City Schools has been something that we have truly benefited from. So we appreciate all of your skills and talents.
Thank you very much.
Are we allowed to say that
Yeah.
you're going?
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't heard, I have accepted the treasurer position at Milton Union. So I'm just down the road. I'll have to drive through Tipp City every day to get to work, but it's been bittersweet. The people, everyone I work with, that's what I'm going to miss the most. And so I just want to say thank you very much to Tipp, because they're the ones that gave me my first opportunity to be a treasurer and let me be able to grow, as Teresa said. So I'm going to miss the place.
Oh,
We're going to miss you. All
It's
your
so
hard work on
sad.
everything.
Except this year, you had an article, you actually shrunk this year.
I was going to say, you haven't grown. You actually lost quite a bit of
I've
weight.
grown in some
You read
ways,
my mind.
lost some in others.
Yeah.
You've grown professionally. How about that? Oh, okay, Dave, I guess it's time to get this over with and call for the vote.
Okay. Mrs. Dahl,
Yes.
Mrs. Heatherly,
yes.
Mrs. Dunaway,
No, absolutely not.
Mr. Patry,
Yes.
Mrs. Zakor.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Motion fails. No, motion
Yeah.
carries. I'm joking. Okay,
Well,
so
thank you, everybody.
after that sad news, discussion, item 3 is discussion. We need to talk about the treasurer search. And obviously the biggest thing is we need to decide as a group, headhunter or no headhunter. We don't call them headhunters. What do we call them?
Search firm.
Search for.
Search firms. So the first thing we need to decide as a group is if we want to hire a company to help us or not. So everybody want to give their 2 cents on that? And what's your 2 cents? We'll start with you since you're on speaker.
Well, obviously, I don't want to spend the money. I'm not sure what the availability is for treasurers and how broad reaching the Dayton Consortium is. Does it penetrate statewide, or how do you what's the penetration on that? Because I would assume there's not that many treasurers out there.
Right. Anybody else want to give their 2 cents?
I think
Go
that
ahead.
because the treasurer is such a unique position that is distinct from the superintendent search, which we've all
Mhm.
done one of those. Depending on like OSBA cost, I wouldn't mind at least finding out how much they would cost to partner with us.
Mhm.
I know we did K-12, that was a bigger cost, and they leveled it, as far as tiers of support that they would offer. If OSBA could do something at a lower level to at least guide us, because being able to articulate qualities that we're looking for, and I think K-12 did a good job of getting us all on the same page, what we're looking for, and like getting it in writing for us to all agree, that allowed us to really work well together. Again, depending on the cost, I would find value in working with a search firm.
Okay, Joella?
I would just be cognizant that it's spring and this is the time when those employees who are looking for something else are sort of looking for opportunities. So
March 1st is actually the day, yeah, Monday.
Right, so I would hope that we would move it along. I'm not opposed to looking at working with K-12 again, because I think that they are already familiar with us as a board. If they could, one, tell us if they're available, and 2, what the cost would be. I would be okay with that. I also think using OSBA would also be a good resource as well.
Yeah. I was just thinking OSBA because I thought they'd be a tad bit cheaper. Honestly, that's why I was thinking them. And I think because they're larger, because I know K-12, like, geez, they filled up
Simon,
so
what's
quickly,
Simon, what's your input?
I don't like spending money, but I candidly don't believe we'll be able to find somebody quickly enough without spending some money on somebody to assist us in this instance. I think the challenges our district face, the timing of hiring somebody, are going to make it very difficult to find somebody to take Dave's place prior to his departure, and that would leave us in a bad spot, a very bad spot. And so I'm in favor of talking to K-12 again. I think that they did a nice job of getting some quotes related to what they could provide, and getting quotes from the OSBA and understanding the level of services they can provide. I don't think we're going to have the ability to find somebody and hire them without more proactive, aggressive search.
I think that's a good point too, Simon, about how they search. When we connect with a service like that, how they help us connect with people. I think that's something else
I have a suggestion to me, a lot of times when we put on the Dayton Consortium, it's a short amount of time. It's like 3 to 5 days. So to me, I think 10 days, 2 weeks. And then the other thing is advertising. So if we could go to BASA or OSBA and at least see what they charge to post it for us, because I know when they've come in here before, they say, let us post your jobs.
Right.
So we want to get the word out there.
Right.
I personally don't think we need a K-12. If we can get like a BASA and a Ohio School Board Association to help us advertise.
Yes.
Liz, you have any weigh-ins on this? Or Mark?
I think your timeline is, I think a lot of your details will be predicated on your timeline. So if someone could reach out to all of these agencies that you brought up this evening, and that might help you all solidify your decision. I don't know how long a search firm takes from start to finish. I have no idea.
Well, it was a pretty detailed process with K-12. We had multiple meetings. We have to,
Correct.
Get the price, then we have to have a board meeting, we have to approve them, and then they have to come in. I mean, it would take us probably 6 weeks, start to finish with a K-12. Mr. Stefanik, what's your feedback?
Well, I've done it both ways. Actually been involved with a district who did a treasure search by themselves. But it is a process making sure that, you set up the framework that everybody is comfortable with and everybody's on board with. But what you have mixing together what Teresa said and what Liz said, it's about timing right now. So if we could create a posting,
Yes.
at least the beginning of a posting, get the posting out there, then we could research these companies and see if they could provide a modified or tiered, type of service plan that maybe wasn't as in depth as you went through with a K-12. But the posting would be out there, so that people would be at least chiming in, and then the search firm there could be a decision about the search firm or agency helping out, and then they could come in while candidates were already replying to the posting, and then they could set up the remainder of the process.
I'll reach out to OSPA tomorrow. Does somebody want to volunteer to reach out to VASA?
I will.
Okay.
I really like Mark's suggestion of getting it out there. Do we have a job description?
I just had Dave, Dave one send us one today, and I've emailed it to all the board members. But yeah, I want to get it posted as soon as possible, because March 1st is the day that superintendents and treasurers in the state of Ohio give notice.
Yeah.
So this is exactly right now, as when people are starting to move around,
Right.
shuffle around.
So I have another question, just because I don't know how this works with treasurers, and I can't exactly remember with Mr. Stefanik. Do we have to vote on the job description, or do we have to vote on where we want to post it? Can we agree that we want to post it Dayton Consortium, BASA, and OSBA?
I would say you would want to hit everything.
Yeah, what else
As
is
much as
there?
you can.
Me too, but what else is there?
ODE
Those are
has
the
a
three.
site.
There are
ODE.
some listservs as well. that
Listservs.
Send out to treasurers across the state. I mean, you want to get,
How do we know?
Yeah,
How do we do it?
that's the treasurer's group
do that,
is
Dave?
called
I
OASBO.
can.
Okay, I just
So
do.
OASBO would get the posting as well, and so that goes out to all treasurers or anybody that's in that association.
Yeah, I mean, we would want to hit we would want to hit across the entire state. I can tell you what I know. I know that Milton Union did a local search, and they did not have a lot of people. If that search hadn't gone well, they would have gone with K-12.
Well, Bethel's doing one right now. K-12 is doing Bethel's right now.
Bethel is currently doing a K-12 treasurer search. I mean, we could always reach out and just see how they're doing that. But again, that's just a suggestion. So I think the ideas that have been shared here already, overall, it is the advertising and getting that word out there.
So, go
one of
ahead.
the advantages of working with K-12, one, they've already done a lot of the investment work of understanding our district and knowing some of the needs of our district. They're also familiar with Mr. Stefanik, and they're familiar with us. I wonder if they might give us some sort of discounted pricing based on, we wouldn't need all those services. We would just introduce them and move forward with this position. I really like how they facilitated and set up the framework for all of the candidates, the review of candidates. They did posting, they did all the invitations, they facilitated all of our questions and putting that together. That's a big job. And then they helped us in deciding the recommendation of who we hired for superintendent.
So your resignation date is effective May 31st, correct?
Yeah, that would be the last day. In my note, it stated that May 31st would be my last day of work, and then June 1st, I'm out, unless I'm brought back to do some cross-training with the new treasurer and that can be worked out.
Because anybody that we get most treasurers are end of July. So that school district would have to do what we're doing, which would agree to, release that treasurer early, or else we would have to get a temporary person in here
Right.
from an agency.
And that's, yes, an interim treasurer. I know
Yeah.
that Bethel had an interim treasurer for 9 months before they hired their last treasurer.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. And
So what I'm saying is we have less than 60 days to get this done. And so the reason I think
No,
we need
90,
to get,
90, March, April, May, right?
yes, 90 days. I'm
Okay.
sorry, you're
No,
right.
you scared me more. I was like, whoa, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, 90.
Sorry, we have 90 days. We're less than 90 days. So last time we were doing this, we had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. We were looking for superintendent. And then that was,
6 or 7 by the time I showed up.
yeah. And so that was I felt a time crunch. It was very
Yeah, this is gonna be
condensed.
fast.
This is going to be even worse.
Yes.
And the concern I have is that these other school districts have probably already started this process. They're going to have more, they're further down the line. If we want somebody that's going to do a good job to come in, we need to get aggressive and K-12 has a network of people they already know are looking for. So if we retain them, they can get us people immediately so we can start getting there to brass tacks and have a good candidate. My concern about posting and not simultaneously pursuing is that by the time we realize that the passive post approach or partnership approach isn't working, we're now at 60 days or 45 days. And so my thought would be, my suggestion to the board would be, is that we consider obviously posting anywhere that we can, getting quotes for K-12, including what, they're already familiar with our school district, having just done this. Is this going to shave anything off their price? Get quotes for all of it, so then that we can then come back and make an educated decision quickly as to what we want to pursue in the next couple of weeks. That way we're not on our heels and trying to catch up.
Yeah, I would like to get this posted for sure this week. Dave, is there any way, how can we, let's look at this job description. So you just sent us 3.
well, I've sent you,
3
I've sent
versions.
you 2 for the treasurer, and then I've also provided the brochure that was online for Bethel and what K-12 put together for them, which is going to look pretty close to what was put together for Mr. Stefanik. Just the duties will look a little different, but
Yeah.
whatever the information is about the community. And then I also provided the Milton Union search that was currently located on OSBA's website.
So Mr. Stefanik, because we've never done this before, we don't have HR. Are you the person that puts it on the consortium? Is that one of the 2 girls in the front? I'm confused on who physically.
Well,
Does- okay.
I would approve whatever the board what was comfortable with. I would approve the posting, and then we would send it out between.
Okay,
Well, it could be Liz, me, and the 2 administrative assistants out front, Carrie and Kristen, all of us working together. We would get it out to all the different.
so is the board comfortable with Dave and Mark working on one job description and getting that posted? And then in the meantime, I can call K-12, I can call OSBA. Corinne, you're gonna do, you said you would do,
I can do.
you said ODE.
No,
So you're gonna reach out to ODE?
Well, I don't think the ODE does searches.
Oh.
Bass.
Oh, BASA,
BASA.
okay. I got OSBA and K-12. Do you have any suggestions, Corinne, Ann, or Simon, on who to call or? Because we're meeting again on Tuesday,
Right.
so if we could have all that information gathered by Tuesday.
Well, if there's information about Tom and Kathy maybe being available to just sort of pick up and continue with us.
I'll call them tomorrow. I'll get all the information for
I
Tuesday.
think we could, if that information then is shared with us, then we could put that on the agenda for the work session, which I believe is Tuesday. And we could vote on that.
Yeah, I think
Make a
we,
motion to vote on it if it's favorable.
yeah, we'll just get all the information. Corinne's getting her piece. I'm gonna do OSBA and K-12. Simon, is there anybody that you can think of networking wise to reach out with? Anybody, Ann, Joelle, and Simon, just anything that we can get for Tuesday? proposals or whatever.
I have a question.
Yes.
Dave, how did you discover the tip job?
I had a representative from
You mean Milton?
SBA contact me.
Milton?
No, Tipp.
No,
When I-
no, this current position. I'm sorry.
Oh, you mean Milton Union
Tipp.
or Tipp?
No, I mean your current job. This
At-
one right here. Yes. How did you discover the tip position?
A representative from OSBA reached out to me
Awesome.
and asked if I would be interested.
Okay, and I'm calling them tomorrow.
Okay.
So at least we have we'll have three pieces of information, data points for Tuesday.
And I'm gonna reach out to OASBO and BASA and ask about,
Oh, I'll do BASA.
are you gonna do all of them?
I'll do OSBA, K-12 and BASA. I have a contact at BASA from Capital Conference.
Okay.
Is that okay? Or did you-
No, that's fine. I just
Yeah.
don't want you to feel like,
Yeah,
okay,
no,
so
I'll
I'll
do
just
those
reach out
three.
to OASBA,
Yeah, you do that.
ask about tiered search cost. See if they can send us a quote.
And they have to be, obviously, it's somebody that has to be available, because a lot of people are booked.
Right.
So it has to,
Start it.
yeah, we cannot wait to get on someone's calendar. It has to be now.
Because when I speak to these people, I'm going to tell them that we are going to decide on March 9th who we're going with
Yes.
and what cost level that we are going
Yep.
to engage at,
That's correct.
and then set up those dates on that time.
Mhm.
So, all of us will then have to bring our calendar, what dates can we meet?
Yep.
My thought is that, I'm just thinking about the search, like Simon was saying that we did with K-12. And, Teresa, like if you hadn't really advocated for us starting early,
Yeah, October, I think.
yeah, we wouldn't have
Yeah,
been able to have, and so it's gonna be, and I don't want it to feel rushed, but also.
Well, this is rushed. There's nothing we can do about it. It's definitely rushed.
Right, but also, there are interim services, like Dave was saying about Bethel did an interim service. So I think that we always should just be mindful of the fact that we don't have to hire somebody if we don't find the right person. We can do an interim situation
That's a great point.
until we find the right, because this is a big job
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's important.
That's a great point.
Either at one of these agencies or multiple agencies, either at OSBA or BASA or OASBO, I've heard that they have a retired treasurer pool.
List.
And so then you might have some options for interim services if you don't find what you're looking for by the time Dave has to leave.
Yeah, and that's pretty commonplace to do interim treasurers or interim superintendents. It happens more often, you know what I mean?
And they're your experienced treasurers.
Mhm.
Right, right.
Right.
Like you said, it's typically, like Kathy Lowry told us, it's typically retirees,
Yes.
so. Okay, so are we clear? Are we good? You guys are gonna work on the resume and get that posted to at least the main places, right? Date Consortium,
Well, it's-
your little group networking.
When you look at it though, you'll see like Milton Union and Bethel and Milton Union both put down salaries
I didn't
ranges
see that, yeah.
and things like that. So that's probably going to have to be some things that the board decides what they're comfortable with. I mean, we can get something ready.
Mhm.
There's still going to be some information that needs to be dropped in there. So I would just suggest that the board members just take a look at what Teresa's forwarded on and just come with your ideas and we can get it going.
Do you have to post it with a range? Is that something that we need to go into executive session and discuss?
We're going to, yeah, if we discuss it
It's
now.
probably, well, it probably would be something to discuss in executive session since it's the compensation for an employee.
Yeah,
But I will say that that is going to be what will attract people for the job, just when they see what the range could be.
so then we're not gonna be able to post it until next.
Well, I move that we go
Thursday.
into executive
But-
session now.
This
to
is a
discuss
special
this.
meeting and that was not listed on our agenda items. And I don't think that we can just
Right,
add that. I could be wrong.
We can check the rules. We can Google it. We do Robert's rules, correct?
yeah.
So I noticed that Bethel has their district profile. Has ours been updated? Is ours ready to go? Would that be a task that we need to look at? in preparing for this posting? Or at a minimum, if we work with a search firm, is that something they're going to expect us to have?
You mean this brochure piece? The Bethel brochure piece that has
Yeah, they have a
quickie thing
district
about the
profile, and I
district?
think, can we do that with K-12 and preparing that for them?
Yeah,
Because I'm sure there were, at a glance, there were some bullet
I
points
worked with
about our
them on
district.
that, Joellen.
What's that?
I did work with them
On
on
that.
that.
Would it be appropriate to pull that up and see if there's anything that needs to be changed on it?
Do we own that, Dave? Do we
What's
own that?
We bought it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm here to get direction, so you just,
no, I am looking on here just as a matter of the piece that Dave sent out here is dated 2018.
I noticed that.
So it's a brochure that has been reused, recycled.
Well, they typically are. I mean, it's not,
Yeah.
But it was not with updated information. They used fiscal year 17 also.
I cannot find any
I'm looking
information
too.
that would say that we cannot enter executive session. If anybody has a doubt about that, I suggest that we call,
hang on. Oh, no, sorry. I thought I found it. I'm on like my fourth
that we
article.
can, don't we have a number there to OSBA that we can call for free legal advice?
Right now, there's nobody there.
Oh, that's not a.
They can't give legal advice either.
I just have
Oh,
a
for
text.
meeting advice, I'm sorry.
I just received a text from Helen that said she would say no
Okay,
to be safe, to make sure.
yeah, because I'm reading this and I don't see where you can. It's all these special meeting things, these special committee,
I mean,
bylaws, executive session.
we could put that in the brochure right now that it's just to be determined. I mean,
Yeah.
salary range to be determined, and then we can get it out there just so that people are aware of the posting.
'Cause I hate to waste all those extra days, you know what I'm saying?
Salary terms or contract terms negotiable.
Yeah,
or
just
something like that,
yeah.
just start.
Because here's the deal.
Exactly. If you just
Everybody's gonna
determine-
Google they're just gonna Google it.
They're gonna
It's
Google my
public.
salary.
Yeah,
first thing.
exactly. It's public information. So I would rather just do that instead of waiting an extra week.
Yeah,
Because
I
people
don't wanna
are-
wait.
Yeah, because people are moving around right now. You know that, Dave, March 1st.
Can we add that as an executive session agenda item for Tuesday so that we can
Make it a
talk to
Well,
one another about what we're thinking?
I'm pulling up my calendar. If we leave let's just say that you're able to get it on the Dayton Consortium by Thursday, that's 2 days.
Mhm.
And if we leave it open for 2 weeks, that would be the 18th. So Friday is always, to end it on a Friday would be the 19th. And so we really don't need to have executive session until we get once we get all these applicants in and we look at them, because we're not going to be telling people over the phone anyway
No, I don't
what
think you
the
understand.
salary is.
No, I think we as a board need to get together and decide what we think the range is going to be.
But you said on the 9th. I don't think we need to do that on the 9th. We're not even going to have all the applicants in until the
I
9th.
don't think we need the
to do-
applicants.
I
We need
think
to
we-
have that information and agree upon what that information is before we would consider looking at any applicants.
My suggestion would be is to post it without the compensation range at this point.
Correct.
On the 9th, our next meeting, have an
Oh.
executive session to discuss the range and update the posting. So
Yeah, we
that-
can update it. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
And then, but I would not wait to do that. I think we need to do that more sooner rather than later.
Right. I think we're all saying the same thing. We'll get it posted in the next 2 days. We can talk about the specific salary.
Helen texted and said that she feels that because we're not talking about a specific individual salary, we can discuss a range if we wanted to right now.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's
Yeah,
confidential. It's
It
public.
doesn't have to be
Right.
confidential, but so if you wanted to discuss that in open session right now, you
Right.
could.
I
Okay,
think I'd feel more comfortable with us having an executive session on Tuesday. Had Dave not given us the notice that he was leaving, I think we probably would have, at some point, had an executive session to talk about the review process that we had coming up for him. And we probably would have talked about compensation at that time too, with that subject. So I think it's probably timely to revisit it.
And I think in order for us to have candid discussions related to contract terms and things like that, there's different things that go into it, not just the range. I think we want to have a global discussion to define what that is. And if we do that in an open meeting, it's going to give somebody the ability to hamper any negotiating that we do or any haggling.
Well, to me, we can't really discuss, I mean, you might have a person with 1 year experience who's gonna get, the bottom of the range, or we might have somebody apply that has 6 years experience and they're gonna be at the top of the range. So all it is, just that, a range. And just talk specifics, I don't think it needs to be done on March 9th March 9th, until we get the applicants in and we have it out there until March 19th. There's nothing to talk about because we don't know if we're getting all 1 year treasurers, if we're getting all 6 year treasurers. So once we get the applicants in, we're going to have to go into executive session to discuss the actual applicants. And then we can say, oh, we've got these people that have 6 years experience. That's going to be a higher range. We don't have anybody that they all have 1 year experience. That's a different range. So we're going to have multiple. Go ahead, Corinne.
Well, I think what Dave was saying though, if you post it with a range.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Post it with a range. Perfect, yeah.
That's what we need to do because that'll get
Yes.
more people posting. What I think I heard Joellen saying is that she feels more comfortable discussing what the range should be on Tuesday in executive session because there's so many inputs into creating that range. Helen is saying we could, if we want to, discuss the range that we want to post it with right now. Do we
Yeah,
want to?
I think
So we just have two different things, like,
Yeah.
like say, yes, post it, and then Tuesday, then we'll
Yeah.
amend the postings with the range, which I think sounds like a good idea, because
Yeah.
to me, I have to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
And K-12 presented us with a lot of research.
Yeah, and what's your input? Sorry, you're on speaker, so
No, that's okay.
what's your input on discussing this, on the salary range? Tonight in
Well-
open session or executive session? That's where we are.
I agree. I think it should be an executive session this coming, Tuesday?
Yes, ma'am.
ASAP. I think, at least a preliminary and getting some ranges. I also think that the job description needs to be posted ASAP
Perfect.
and salary to be determined, whatever, and then that can always be amended. So I say ASAP posting this week and go into executive session to start entering into the salary range.
Great. So Dave, can you add that executive session to our board, our work session that hasn't gone out yet? So
Yeah, I'll check with, I'll get on.
yeah, update that before we send it out.
I wonder what you think about authorizing you to contact Helen and talk about how we should maybe unfold these steps. Because, we could talk about it publicly tonight about what to advise us as a board of how to move forward.
Why do we need Helen? I'm very confused.
I think Helen could provide us some procedural steps to make sure that we're complying with the law and provide us some input and feedback on things we might want to consider that we may not have on our radar, especially if we're not going to have K-12 or someone like that involved.
Yeah,
Mark, isn't that something that you would just do under day-to-day business, right? Mark or Dave?
I'm just gonna add, Helen is watching and she's texted saying she does not believe that discussing a range fits an executive session. It's not the compensation for a particular person.
Yeah, I just want to do it tonight. That's kind of, it's not confidential information. It's public, it's taxpayer money.
The problem is that I believe I heard Corinne say that she wants to review and do some.
Well, that's not a complication. That was merely one thing I found very helpful from the way K-12 presented it as, they did background, like database searches and they helped us. Because what I don't want to have happen is that we put out a range that will exclude people from our search that might otherwise apply.
Well, we could start with like, Dave, when you came here your first year, going back in your memory bank, because you were new with no experience, it was your first time being a, treasurer. So we could start with that range because Dave came here with no experience. So if we hit somebody like that, that would, of course, that's inflation. It's 6 years ago.
We still have all of the records, I believe, from the treasurer's search from 6 years ago. Yeah, we should have all of that, and that would have the posting, it would have the questions that were asked of the treasurer, it would have everything that was done at that time. And so,
But that, to me, that would be the low range, right? Whatever you came in at 6 years ago, plus we would have a little bit of, COLA.
There's a lot of room to work with on that. I mean, you
Yeah.
can put down something really low, you can put down something really high and just.
Can I throw out like one idea?
Mhm.
If we put down as our range, your salary maybe minus 5,000, because if we get somebody that doesn't have your experience, up to Mark's salary as our range.
Well,
Is that-
we don't want, the other thing we can do is we could look at the treasurer's salaries in Miami County.
Right, and that's the kind of stuff that K-12 did for us that was really helpful.
The ESC also has that as well. The Miami County ESC, Dave Larson keeps track of all of that. And we can see where we fall and where other districts fall. And, some districts are a lot bigger than we are, so, and some are a lot smaller.
And some have more moving pieces, if you're,
I mean,
right.
This is just my opinion. I'm not trying to tell the board what to do, but the idea of just putting it out there that Tipp is looking and that the salary will be determined. The salary will be determined at a later date, or they could contact us and just say, hey, have you guys determined anything yet? Anyone that's interested,
It's gonna call.
they're going to, one, look up my salary for the past year. They're gonna see where I fall and they're gonna go, okay, I can see where he's at. And they might look up other district salaries in this area. But in the end, the board can, in the end, when the applicant that is chosen as the final applicant, they will negotiate with that applicant, just like we did with Mr. Stefan.
Sure.
And it could go anywhere. It could go anywhere. It doesn't mean that you have to be within that salary range. I mean, this could end up being, the greatest treasurer that Ohio has ever seen. And you're going to be like, you know what? We need somebody very strong who can come in and can help us get through what we need to deal with here at Tipp. And we feel that they are worth.
Yeah.
Shoot, you end up providing benefits to them instead of.
Everything is negotiable.
Everything is negotiable.
Everything is negotiable. And we're talking about this and we don't even, you know what I mean? Like you said, we might
So
get
we
the
can
rock
be-
stars and all rock stars.
We can make a posting that says everything is negotiable.
Salary is negotiable.
Salary
and
negotiable.
benefits
They're gonna
negotiable.
look up his salary. It's not like a secret.
Yes.
It's public information.
Well, that's what I was gonna suggest, that Helen might help us. I don't think we have to get into the weeds as far as what the benefit package is, but she could at least put something together based on what we
Yeah,
do with Mark. And that's what I was suggesting, that if we have an executive session, we would all at least be in agreement of what that is. I don't think we need to get all the way in the weeds as to, I know that we plotted out what we thought the benefit package was for Mark and what the benefit, or what the salary range was gonna be. And I don't think that,
Well,
I don't want us to get applicants before we have that established.
but I think, and what I'm remembering is that we can't talk about that in executive session unless we're talking about a specific applicant. That it's not executive session content to talk about those things unless you're talking about an
a
attached to
specific person, right? You can't just talk about.
That's why
general-
when we met with her, we did very general things. Is it negotiable? Yes, it is. What is the benefit? Will you negotiate with that? Yes, we will. Because until you're talking about a specific person, you can't go into executive session with it.
Well, Joellen, I mean, if she's correct with, the attorney will the board will discuss with the attorney in executive session a draft contract
Absolutely.
for the applicant, and we start with that. And that is provided to the applicant based on what the board knows about them, who the final person is, or whoever's in final negotiations. And then if we don't have a search firm with us, because I believe with the K-12 consulting, they were there in the room with you and Mr. Stefanik, correct? And so if we don't have the firm, then the board and the applicant would negotiate back and forth. And then the applicant would step out of the room, the board
Yeah.
contacts the attorney, discusses what they can offer, and then you just keep doing that back and forth until a resolution is found between the two and an agreement is reached.
What I remember is that there were things in the previous superintendent's contract that we then discussed. That discussion wasn't specific to one candidate. It was just a generalized discussion because there were omissions to that contract, or there were things in the contract that we were unaware of. So I don't think it's a bad idea to have Helen look at Dave's contract and advise us on what we might need to add to it or address.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be done now, though. I mean, right now,
We're just trying to
looking
get
for
the application.
posting.
Yeah, right now we're trying to get the posting out there
Yeah,
so that people know.
yeah, the
And-
posting just normally, they're very broad and just state that the salary will be based upon qualifications and experience and negotiable. And then the applicant would also receive benefits as the normal. I mean,
Is the
Yeah.
board comfortable with 2 weeks instead of one? Because I don't like when we do 1 week. I feel like that's
you
not
mean just
enough.
advertising? for
Yeah,
1 week?
posting.
Oh,
I
you're
feel
good.
like 2 weeks.
If we're
You think
trying
that's
to
too long,
reach,
Dave?
no, I think it might
yeah.
be a little too short. If
Okay, I
we're
was gonna say
trying
at
to-
least. I'm looking at March 19th as like a deadline due.
No, yeah, I think it needs to be till April 1st almost, because we're gonna have spring break in there.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just
Well,
trying to get it.
and I think that,
Yeah, spring break is.
yeah, I would say, what do you think, Dave, for most treasurer postings?
I mean, if you're trying to get a wide advertisement to the whole state, you're gonna want to give people some time to spread it around.
Yes.
Sometimes the last thing you want is a good treasurer hearing about it at the last second and then trying to scramble to get everything together, and then they can't do a good application.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing.
3 weeks would be March 26th.
Yeah, if you use with a search firm that I've used a long time ago, it was K-12. K-12 had me fill out a knowledge-based questionnaire. Just said, tell us about your experience with this and that OSBA or OFCC and bonds and levies and things like that. And other times it's just the normal consortium application and you just pull from that. And so.
That was gonna actually be my next statement, which
Yeah.
is what are we expecting applicants to send us?
Yeah.
Is it gonna just be a standard application? Are you looking for a resume? Are you looking for specific topics so that the applicants can tell us whether they have experience in those things that you just said?
I would say you would want to get the resume and the references with that. And then also their treasurer's license, a copy of that if they have one. Maybe even their transcripts. I've sent those every time. You send the transcripts, and then you also have them fill out the online consortium. If that's the way we normally hire people, if that's already set up for Tipp, we can just have them fill out the consortium, and then we have somebody or the board is reviewing the applicants, and then that would be an executive session.
Yeah, that's
To
exactly
review
the
the
actual.
applicants and decide who you want to bring in.
Yeah.
And so the more the better is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get a good pool of people to choose from.
Do you know if our consortium's set up where it filters, like if they don't have a treasurer's license number?
No,
It throws them out?
it wouldn't do, it does not filter those out, but you can find those.
I can do that part.
Yeah,
They don't have a treasurer's license.
Right.
That part I can do.
now I will say that there are a lot of applicants out there right now that have a treasurer's license but don't have the experience, so they may have been an assistant treasurer somewhere. So there are a lot of people that are trying to break into the treasurer job, just like I was.
Wait, so assistant treasurers don't have a treasurer's license? Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
They do. I mean,
Okay,
most of so if they're not,
Because if it's an assistant treasurer from a large school like a Mason, that's a
They
pretty
should,
big
they
experience
should.
school. Yeah.
I apologize. If they don't have the treasurer's license, they're usually called assistant to the treasurer.
Okay.
But a lot of those assistants to the treasurers are earning their treasurer's license and getting that, and then they could be called an assistant treasurer. Bigger districts, they usually would have.
I think we want to know if they're eligible,
Yeah.
or if they're pursuing it.
Yeah, and sometimes, at other times, you have job applicants that are in the process of obtaining that treasurer's license. And so then there's a caveat in the contract that says the applicant must be able to obtain a treasurer's license within 6 months of.
By June 1st.
Yeah.
The day you leave.
Actually, I take that back. That may not be allowable just because the district has to have a treasurer of record.
Yes.
So that would definitely be a Helen question on that. But maybe that's if they're the assistant treasurer, they have to be able to provide that. But I would think they have to have a valid treasurer's license to hold the treasurer position.
Or we would at least have to have someone under contract as an interim treasurer
Correct.
who possesses that license
Correct.
until our candidate, whoever we're looking to select, we would then have to agree on how long
Yeah.
would we expect them to secure licensure.
Yeah, I would not rule out an interim treasurer, especially if you can get a retired treasurer that's very experienced.
And how long do you think we should, if you get your calendar out, how long do you think we should leave the application process open? Corinne says April 1st because of spring break. We're just looking for suggestions. If we're posted, we have to have a, deadline.
So when you say how long to leave it open, then what's the alternative step by closing it earlier? I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Well, if we say applications due on March 19th, obviously that's not very long, it's 2 weeks. So we're trying to decide how long, because once we, have the deadline, then we have to look at it, we're gonna have multiple executive sessions. We have to look at all these applicants, we have to sort through them, we have to interview them, first.
So if you set March 19th and you don't have a very large pool or a quality pool, is there an extension allowed on that date?
Well, I think March 19th
You can
is,
do whatever you want.
yeah, I think March 19th is too short.
Okay.
The 26th would give us 3 weeks.
So we could.
We're just kind of
start-
looking for
Right, and we
consensus
could
on
say,
when to
look,
end
we're
it.
gonna close it April 1st. Doesn't mean we can't start pulling these and having executive sessions and weeding through what we get. It doesn't mean that we have to sit there and wait until April
Right, to look
1st.
at 50 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's another potential caveat. If you go to, let's say, March 26th, then you can't technically start interviewing those candidates until after that date. Is that correct?
Correct.
So you run the risk potentially of somebody who's a great candidate and gets swooped up. Maybe they're in our pool, but they're also in somebody else's and they've started their interviewing and they hire them. Because we know that good candidates often go very quickly. So I'm just trying to
Well,
play it both ways.
Do we have to wait?
Wait for what?
to interview,
Yes.
Oh, you have to wait till the posting is closed. before
Yeah, you
do
can't start
anything.
interviewing while you're still.
Is
Well,
that
I-
the law or is that just best practice?
when I was an accounts payable clerk, I recall there was a job that was open and it closed 2 weeks early because they felt they had enough candidates or
Wow.
good quality candidates, and they said that the board decided to stop. I mean,
Right, I don't think that there's any law that says we have to leave it open till April 1st. I think we allow people, almost all the postings are about a month long,
well,
if you look historically. But we can start as we get in batches. We can start, we can, on next March 9th, we can plan meetings. We can start pulling that stuff in, we can talk about working with K-12 and OSBA. But I think that if we want to seriously attack a job search and trying to see if we can find a qualified person to be our treasurer this coming school year, we have to be a more aggressive timeline. And also be open to the fact that we don't have to fill that chair with somebody, that we can do an interim at the same time.
Right.
So I think it needs to be both.
and sometimes, I mean, I know of this situation where an interim treasurer fell in love with the district and the retired treasurer was offered the job and they stayed on for a few more years. Just, we had a good relationship with the board and with the community and just kept going. So,
Back to square one. So Dave and Mark, and I don't know if this involves you or Liz or not, I apologize, but working together, the two of you, possibly with Helen, when do you think you feel comfortable getting something posted to at least the Dayton Consortium, which is the main and most obvious place? Like how long, what's the timeframe?
Well, I don't, if any of these places don't have a bunch of hoops to jump through, to get things posted, I don't see where by the end of the week is an issue.
Okay,
Dave,
do you think that sounds
To make
reasonable?
a posting and
Okay,
it's just gathering information and putting it in a format, getting it out there. Do you want us to put a deadline on it?
Well, that's what I keep-
That's the discussion we were just having.
I know, I keep looking at my phone and we keep getting off that, like I said, March 26th, let's just say you got, for even number purposes, if you get it out Friday, March 26th is 3 weeks. Corinne wants a month, which is April 2nd.
Yeah.
So,
And then you just, you just extend it, say we only get 4 people.
yeah, so if we do March 26th and we have a great applicant pool, we're done. If it's March 26th and we don't, we can do an extension.
Okay.
Because what I don't want to happen is, like you said, you lose somebody, but I guess you could
So-
close it at any time.
So my other concern, my other reason for going out to March
Mhm.
1st or April 1st
Sure.
was Dave said, you want, he's gonna put it on the listservs. He's gonna put it on this and then they forward it forward, like they help spread the word.
Mhm.
So let's say it takes a week to even get to somebody and they're like, it's closing in a week. I don't have enough time to put all my stuff together. I wanna present something professional. So they exclude themselves from the search because it said,
Exactly.
so I think that, and just because also I was looking on there, they're almost all a month of a.
Okay, so
of a
April
posting.
2nd.
We'll just post it till filled.
So.
Oh, I've seen that too.
I like
What
that.
what did Joellen say?
Joella said, instead of a dead date, you could say, until the position's filled.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
And when you ladies,
I like that.
when you contact these 3 groups,
Yeah.
I'm sure that they'll have
They're
lots
gonna
of
have
good
suggestions,
advice.
yeah.
But I think for the initial posting, I agree with Joellen, until filled.
Yeah, I like until filled. I like it a lot.
So perhaps we should be looking at securing this list of interim superintendents, contacting them about their availability. We don't know, when you get that list, do they take people off who have already made a commitment?
Yeah, they wouldn't recommend somebody to multiple places. You just-
Probably be contacting and coming up with what that plan is going to be of who we're going to look for an interim position. Because that's sort of the safety net while we're taking care of this.
Can we decide that on March 26th? I don't want, people only have so many hours in the day, and to call something, to spend that time in those hours and when we could be doing other things, right? If it's an issue on March 26th, I would say yes.
Sure.
But I don't think anybody has an extra 3 hours during their workday to do that now. I'm not saying it would take 3 hours. That's just my opinion. And if we do go with one of these people, they're gonna have that list. So it kind of comes with the service, so to speak. And they probably each have their own little list of people that they like to go use, that they respect and trust and that do a good job. So,
I think if we focus on the posting now.
yes,
And making the contacts, then Tuesday, we can take up the conversation about what else needs to be
right,
talked about or decided on.
I agree. Ann, do you have anything else?
No,
Anybody have anything else?
I just got on OSBA's side. They don't do any kind of help you search.
Oh, shoot, they used to.
I'm not OSB, I'm sorry, OAS.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
Yeah, that's, it's
Yeah.
usually just OSBA and.
Okay, well
BASA.
then you have one thing like your list for, I still have OSBA, BASA, and K-12. And I will bring all that information to you.
OASBO does have postings on their site though, right?
they have postings, but they don't help you search.
Well, yeah, at least if we can post it, that's what we want, to at
It's on
least
the
post
list.
it.
Yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah,
Yes.
So then today we've decided that we want by March 5th postings on the Dayton Consortium, OSBA, your listservs, and the ODE job board. And then we're gonna have post till fill.
Yeah. post
And
it.
then next Tuesday, we're going to decide if we're gonna use a search firm. And then that kind of decides everything else. If we don't do a search firm, we need to create our own timeline and move that along. If we do, then that's a whole different.
Yeah.
So I think we've done the work that we can do for today.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And then I'll bring that information on March 9th. We can discuss that and see where we go from there. Anybody have any other final comment before we move on to miscellaneous? No? Okay. Miscellaneous, item 4, which would be upcoming meetings. The next work session meeting will take place on Tuesday, March 9th, 2021, beginning at 5 p.m. And the next regular Board of Education meeting will take place on Monday, March 22nd, 2021, at the Board of Education office beginning at 6 p.m. So I'm looking for a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Mrs. Dahl and Mr. Patry. Dave, do you want to call roll?
Dahl,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Dunaway,
Yes.
Heatherly,
Yes.
Zakor.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
6:26 p.m.